students, today's agenda. Today we'll be creating equations and you will be able to do 4.1. Today students will be able to create and solve equations from scenarios. And so it says to set up, solve, and answer in a complete sentence. For number 1, it says you're playing a game. You have 1,632 points. You lose 50 points every minute. How long ago did you have 2,082 points? So first we're going to set it up. It says that we have 1,632 points and you lose 50 every minute. So it's going to be minus 50 per minute. Remember that when we don't know or when it's happening at a rate, in this case it's every minute, that's when we put the variable. And that's going to be equals to 2,082. Since this is positive, that means that we're adding that, and so the opposite is to subtract 1,632 on both sides. Whoops. This cancels and we end up with negative 50x equals, we subtract and we get 0, 5, we borrow and we get 4. And 1 minus 1 is just 0. So now, if this is multiplication, the opposite is to divide. This cancels and x will be equals to positive divided by negative will be negative. And how many times does the 50 go into 450? Well, it's 9 times because 9 times 0 is 0 and 9 times 5 is 45. Notice how we got an answer that it's negative. But then again, the question says, how long ago did you have 2,082 points? Remember that when we have a negative number, it's time in the past. In here, it's minutes, right? The X represents the number of minutes. So it's 9 minutes ago. Again, if it's negative, it's in the past. We can say 9 minutes ago, I had 2,082 points. 2,082 points. And so that will be our sentence. Okay, for number 2, it says you owe $960. You pay $80 a month. How long will it take you to owe $480? So one important thing in here is that the word owe means debt. So that's in the negatives. And so to set up, we're going to put negative 960. And then you pay $80, that's positive because you're giving the money. So it's plus 80x equals, and again, how long will it take you to owe 480? So we have to be very careful with the word owe because that makes it negative. Then in here, what we're going to do, if we're subtracting 960, the opposite is to add 960 to both sides. This cancels. And now I have 80x equals negative 480 plus 960. We subtract and leave the greater sign. And so because this is bigger, you can just set it up as 960 minus 480, or you can just subtract directly from here to here. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 8 cannot be done, so we borrow. 16 minus 8 is 8, and 8 minus 4 is 4. Again, we always subtract the biggest minus the smallest and leave the greater sign. Okay? Always subtract the biggest minus the smallest and leave the greater sign, which in this case is the positive. If we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide. This cancels. And so, how many times you can cancel zeros when you have division, only in division. How many times does the 8 go into 48? That's 6 times. And so in 6 months, you will owe 480. Okay, 6 months later, you still have a debt of $480. in 6 months, I will owe 480. And if you had to set up a coordinate in here, the x will be positive 6 in 6 months. The y will still be debt, negative 480. Okay? What would the first one look like as a coordinate? We'll come back to number 3, but let's look at the first one. As a coordinate, 9 minutes ago will be, for x, it will be negative 9. And I had 2082 points. So this represents, y represents the points that you have at a certain time, and the x represents the time. In this specific coordinate, it will be 9 minutes ago. I had 2082 points. Okay, number 3, you check the weather every morning. If today is 39 degrees Fahrenheit and it is predicted to drop 3 degrees each day, when will the weather be 27 degrees? So right now it's 39, and then it's predicted to drop, means it's going to go down, so it's negative 3, and that's going to happen each day. This is the number of days. When will it be 27? Okay, so now what we're going to do is subtract 39 from both sides. This cancels and you get negative 3x equals negative 12. If we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide. Remember that in division we take the sign, so that cancels, and x will be equals to negative divided by negative is positive. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And so I don't have a space to write the sentence. I'll write it in here. It's going to be 4 days. Okay, in 4 days it will be 27 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, that can be represented as day 4, and the weather will be 27 degrees. If you notice, this lesson was a little bit of a review. It'll get a little bit more complex, but that's it for this lesson. If you can please give us a thumbs up, subscribe around here. This is the link to the entire unit. Here will be the next lesson. Now you're able to do 4.1 and have fun.